Today we seek to answer one question. Do we know our true self? Most of us wander through life unaware of the true nature of our own self. Even if we are made aware of our true identity by our spiritual guides, we are skeptical because we cannot experience our true self through our senses or our mind. It is necessary to reach a stage of enlightenment to reveal to us the nature of our truth. So many seekers develop a misbelief that they cannot reach the stage where they can know their true self. Our true self is not a knowledge to be acquired. It is one's ignorant outlook that one should give up. The supposed ignorance causes a person to lack knowledge of what they are. One confused devotee told Sage Ramana that he is a layman and it is beyond his reach to attain the knowledge of the truth. Sage replied that he does not need to acquire any knowledge, but instead jettison ignorance. Then Sage told a parable to illustrate his point. Sage said that once there lived 10 fools who were close friends. One day they set forth on a journey and reached a river. Upon crossing the bridge, each wanted to ensure all had safely reached the other shore. So one of the 10 men began to count, but he left himself out while counting others. When he finished counting, he said, I see only 9, which means we have lost one. Who can it be? Another asked, Did you count correctly? And he decided to do another head count. He also counted 9. One after the other, each of them counted, but kept missing himself. We are only 9. They all agreed in despair. But who is the missing one? They made many efforts but failed to discover the missing person. One of the 10 was a sentimental fool. He burst into tears and said, he must have fallen into the water and drowned while crossing the river. The others also started worrying. A gentleman was passing by. When he saw the 10 fools weeping on the river bank, he stopped to inquire why they were lamenting so loudly. All 10 told what had happened and said that even after counting themselves several times, they could find only 9, so one fellow was lost. The gentleman, who could see all the 10 before him, first began to laugh. The 10 fools were angry that he was laughing when one of their friends drowned. The gentleman calmed them down and assured them all were alive and no man had drowned. He suggested that each of them should count them in a serial order of one after the other, like 1, 2, 3, and so on. Then the gentleman will give each fool a blow. He explained that it is important that they recite their number so that all of them may be sure of having been included in the count, and also they are included only once. So this way they can find the 10th missing man. The 10 fools were happy to hear the solution and rejoiced at the prospect of finding their lost friend. As the first fool received a blow, he said aloud, 1. While the kind gentleman gave a blow to the second, he said 2. He thus hit each of the 10 in turn, and when he hit the last one, he said 10. They looked at one another to discover who had returned. We are 10, they said with one voice, and thanked the kind gentleman for having removed their grief. Where did the 10th man appear from? Was he ever lost? Knowing he had been there all the while, did the group of friends learn anything new? The cause of their grief was not the actual loss of any one of the 10, it was their ignorance, their mere supposition that one of them was lost, though they couldn't find who he was because they counted only 9. How to remove self ignorance? Sage guided us to do self inquiry to remove ignorance. Self inquiry means asking questions like, who am I? What is in us that knows? What in us is aware of what the body experiences? Where do thoughts come from? As the mind ponders these questions, it travels inward through the layers of bodily experiences and inner mental movements. Then the awareness that underlies the existence reveals. The revelation is not a new experience, but instead exposing an essential truth that was previously veiled. Where could we find what we essentially are? The way to know the self is where the person and self intersect. We may compare it to a movie that's playing on a screen. The ego personality is the movie, and the awareness is the screen in which the ego personality plays. If the image on the screen wants to find the source is the screen in this case. The image needs to reach the place where the image and the screen intersect. Similarly, ego personality could find the true self by concentrating on the intersection of bodic body and mental body. What it implies, we need to focus on the movement of thought to access our truth. One thought comes, next moment, another thought comes, then another. Can we touch the place where one thought ends and the next thought starts? The gap between two thoughts is the place where our true self lies in its pure state, uncovered and untouched by any experience. Try. Could we reach the true self between the thoughts? Could we increase the time of no thoughts? The constant stream of thoughts poses a challenge in sticking to the real place. But at least we can understand from this experiment that our self is not missing. It does not leave us any moment. It is we who turn away from it. That is, it is the mind that has turned away from the source. Although mind and awareness are not two things, but as long as the mind remains focused on the objective experience, such as thought, emotion, sensation, the mind will never recognize its essence self. When night comes, sun is still present in the sky, shining. It's the earth that turns away from the sun. And as a result, some parts of it fall into darkness. As soon as the earth turns around, the parts that had turned dark light up. Our self shines equally brightly in all objective experiences. Our self is not veiled or hard to access. It is very light of knowing with which all knowledge is obtained. When Ramana Maharishi was suddenly overcome by the fear of death, he lay down on the ground and simply asked himself, what is my essential nature? What cannot be removed from myself? What happens to the awareness when the body dies? He spontaneously engaged himself in self inquiry and went directly to the essential nature of the ego personality. It is time that we turn within, strive towards enlightenment, and ultimately abide in our true self. Thank you.